we were just nerding out at the potential of art and other like creative spaces to imagine more just worlds for ourselves. Talking about Copyslut's Hooker Homecoming video, which I know you're a big fan of, Dave, about like the ability to imagine a world with less sexual shame in it. So just to catch you up, is that a fair and accurate summation? No,
definitely.
Or great,
sweet. And specifically, I love that you brought in the sci-fi aspect too, because Hooker Homecoming really was inspired by, as like we wanted it to be an intergalactic voyage, you know, and it's very inspired by like Firefly, which is has like really like it has like depictions of
space cowboys.
Yeah, space cowboys. There's also like a sex worker character on the show who like is just a badass and like holds it down and is like really integral to like keeping the ship like going, you know? And that just feels like that doesn't feel too far from the reality that we live in, you know? Like I do think like sex workers like are like the support of any kind of society and like and has been throughout civilization as we know it. You know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know me, like you give me two whiskeys in and I'm on some Ishtar temple shit like in no time, right? Like I feel like Dave lets me go from like moons to menstruation in like no time. I'll just drop that into a conversation, no warning, witchcraft all day.
Much.
Do you like sci-fi, Dave?
I do. I don't. I'm not the biggest. I don't keep up with like I like what I used to watch when I was a kid. I used to pay attention to everything, but I was mostly a victim of no cable. So I watched what my brothers and sisters watched. They were big. My sister loves Doctor Who. My brother was, and both of them were big Next Generation fans. My sister loved Douglas Adams. My brother's huge into Afrofuturism now. I mean, I like it, all that stuff, but I don't go seeking after it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I love the Afrofuturism wave of sci-fi. It's like really cool, like Octavia Butler and like total like similar stuff, like prefigurative. Like it's not what we live in now, but like how do we reimagine a world that we could live in? And it's a really cool like metaphor. I just finished watching Deep Space Nine after watching Next Gen from Star Trek, so I'm a big fan of Star Trek.
Yeah, that's been our quarantine self-care is lots and lots of Star Trek.
Star Trek, okay. I took some time on The Simpsons. I guess I took a different avenue. I've done up to like 7 seasons into The Simpsons. I was always a fan. I was like, let me watch this again. And I just
wow.
The Simpsons is spot on a lot of things. I'm like, damn, they really called that.
Yeah, like what else are they gonna predict?
Yeah. I've been rewatching Daria as my nostalgia game. They really, okay.
Daria.
I'm sorry. Was that too on brand? That's okay.
That's
perfect.
Right?
Have you been loving it as much as ever before?
Yeah, it's the same. You guys have both done something that I think is fascinating, which is like released videos in the time of COVID, right? Released singles, released albums, and like putting art out into this world. Like, what has that been like for y'all with all of us? Because like, I know that with my own artistic journey, and I imagine, but I don't want to project onto y'all mine, is that like going out on tour and experiencing the live like interaction with your fans about how this is being received is a huge part of that. So what has it been like to like put something out into the world at this moment in our history?
Yeah.
Do you wanna
yeah, let's do it. It's strange. Like thankfully we slid into home. We released our album in January. And so we had our album release party and everything. So I do feel really lucky that we were able to like have the whole ritual of releasing it right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Or I guess that was as COVID was hitting. And we had no idea at the time.
In retrospect, yeah.
Yeah.
Just before it entered consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, we gotta do this in January. It's been interesting because I do feel like our art has been impacting people. Like we've been getting a lot of feedback from people listening to our album. But the thing that feels strange is like we're not playing our album live. You know, it just feels like we don't quite get that, like you're saying, like the in-person kind of feedback loop, and like that kind of keeps an album alive and like kind of puts like this vivaciousness behind it. I still listen to it, like it's still there, but it's just like it kind of like this weird thing where it feels like it's out in the world and it doesn't come back to us. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, I mean that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like as I'm like a Capricorn, so I like really like structure, and I feel like one thing that has been really cool is it's kind of like there's these constraints that are like just your life now. You have a new reality. And so what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And it's like kind of forces you to be more creative. And, you know, how are you? So we've done like one-day productions where we've done covers and got dressed up and did a whole little show thing and then released that. And we've written a lot of new music because, you know, I was really on the edge of burnout towards the end of like really completing the album and pushing it and right after the release. And so in some ways there was like the gift of being able to rest and not have the pressure of more output. And like, yeah. And then just making a music video for it. And like, we have plans of another music video for another one of our songs. I think music videos are a great way to keep an album alive and moving. We've also gotten like handwritten cards and letters about it, which I don't think would necessarily happen if we weren't.
Right, if somebody was able to interact with you in person or go to your concert or do something. It's great to hear that both artists and fans are finding ways of like connecting and releasing that energy in like a new environment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dave, you also have the experience of like making a music video during the coronavirus and certainly releasing it. Like, is that I just want to say that for the record, and I think it's cool.
Yeah, what was that like for you?
It was, the album had been in the works forever. Like I'd been literally working on this album for 10 years. And then in the phase of that it came out in for over a year. So it was like all this time I've been ready to put this album out. And it wasn't supposed to come out actually for a few more months. And then when the quarantine started, it was like, hey, what do you think about releasing your album, you know, during the quarantine? And I was all about it, honestly. I kind of, because I wasn't sure at first, I was like, well, I don't know, this is weird. Will people want to listen to this? And this was right when it was starting, before the police murders flared up again. And I was just like, you know, do people want to hear this? Are people depressed? And then after a little while, like, I don't know, I guess I started thinking of it as like workout music. I was going out on walks. I'd always thought of it as workout music. And I was like, you know what, this is workout music. And it's a story about like regular life. And I was like, you know, if I frame it as like, hey guys, remember when we used to have regular lives? It's like, you know, it always was a story of the past. So I was just like, I'm just going to lean on that. Like, this is an old story. Yeah. It's not now. And then when I had to make the video, I just kind of was like, how can I make this video now with social distancing and all? And I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, it'll be like an internet date. And the director suggested, like, because I was like, oh, I could get one of my friends to self-shoot maybe. And, you know, we'll just get some footage from her. And he was like, oh, maybe I can get Christine, which is his girlfriend. And before I could even stop myself, I'm like, oh, she's beautiful, of course. And I was like, yeah, I mean, great idea. But like, he was into it, and it like worked perfectly because he could shoot with his girlfriend in the house with, you know, very up close to her. I trusted him. He came over with a mask on, shot me, and like was able to match the shots. And like, people who hear the song are like, this song is old. It sounds like it was written for quarantine. And I'm like, no, we haven't been speaking to each other.
That resonates.
I had that experience. I was like, I could tell it wasn't, what was cool about your music video is it wasn't just written for quarantine. That like, there's all this art coming out, right? That's like very quarantine style. And
quarantine wave.
Yours was like really unique. Like I've watched a lot of music videos like leading up to Hooker Homecoming, and I was like, damn, I was like impressed. I was like, this is a really cool concept, really cool idea. The digital dating is like a nightmare, you know, and in general, but I also had this reaction. I was like, it was so cool. I was like, I can't show this to some people though, because then they're going to sweat me, you know? And I was like I kind of identified with it, like I only text.
Right. Yeah. You can't. It's the kind of song that you can't tweet or you're gonna get pushback. Like, who are you? Yeah, who are you subtweeting?
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Like